So with that point, I'm going to bring up one of our newest employees. Her name is Salem Smith-Shoup. She is our Director of Development, and she's going to share some thoughts and ideas and good things with you. Let's welcome Salem.
It takes all of us to advocate and be there for each other. And the big job of our organization is to make sure that we're bringing all those people together, because together we can make such a huge change, more than we can, any of us on our own. And, you know, I feel, since I've been here since February. So a little bit of time, enough to see the work that we do. And it's, you know, it's not just a quick fix. I mean, we're here for the duration. We're here to make long-term change, an impact in the community now and for generations. That's what we do. We want healthy communities, and that starts most of the time with having a safe, healthy place to live, affordable place to live, where people can raise their children, their grandchildren, and they feel safe and comfortable, and they can just have a better life than what they could ever imagine. And that's what we all want. We all want that for our children. We all want that for our parents. We all want that for our grandparents. That's what we want. We want everyone to feel safe and secure. And it comes down a lot of times, if you don't have to worry about where you're living, and it's a safe place, and you're comfortable, and you have friendly neighbors, and people are helping each other, doesn't that make the world a better place? Doesn't that make your community a better place? And that is really what is behind our mission, is to make our community a beautiful place to live, where everyone can thrive, everyone. So that's what we're here to do. And, you know, my job as a development director is bringing in the resources that help us do this type of work. And it takes all types of resources. It takes volunteer hours. It takes people out there advocating for us, amplifying the message out within the community. It takes all of that. And it takes a little bit of money too. And I want to take a minute here to thank the sponsors of this event, because this event brings so many people together to have such important discussions and to hear what's going on in the community. And we have our sponsors have been listed on the screen, and you see it on. So I want to thank those folks for making this possible, because they understand that we need to get together and have this type of opportunity to see each other and talk about the issues that we're all dealing with. So thanks for those sponsors that are here. And, you know, there's a few little envelopes on your table. You've probably seen them, little donation envelopes, and it takes every little bit of support from the community to get things done. And so if you feel so inclined, those donation envelopes are there on your table for you to utilize. We take everything. There's cash, check. There's a QR code on the envelope as well. They'll take you directly to give online. So that's an opportunity for you to take this journey with us, to be a part of what we're doing. You know, feel free to take it with you, hand it to somebody else, and say, hey, you need to help out and be a part of this, because that's what it takes. It takes all of us. The second thing that we are launching this year that Hugh particularly is excited about is an event that we're trying to get off the ground this year. It's a brand new event. It's called There's No Place Like Home. We're doing it in conjunction with the Community Theater of Greensboro, their annual production of The Wizard of Oz. And the vision of this is that we can offer an opportunity to low to moderate income families that have had interaction with Greensboro Housing Coalition, or one of our partners, and give them the opportunity to come and have a fun character meet and greet luncheon at the theater, and see Dorothy and the Tin Man and all those, and have a little lunch and have photo opportunities and all that kind of stuff, and bring that to families that may not ever have that opportunity. And then follow that up, obviously, with getting to stay and see the show. And it's going to be an exciting a thing that we're doing, and it takes sponsors, because we want to be able to offer this opportunity to these families. So on the tables, there's a couple of print flyers on there that kind of gives you a little bit of information of what we're trying to do with that, and how you can be a part of it, and how you can bring the magic of the Wizard of Oz to some of the kids and the families in our community by supporting this event and sponsoring this event, so that we can get them to the theater for a nice little day of fun. So if you're so inclined, my contact information is on those flyers. I don't know if we had did we have a slide with that? Yeah. That's what it looks like. You can always call the office, the Greensboro Housing Coalition office, ask for me, and I will be more than happy to help you out. We'd love to have you on board with bringing that to the families in our community. So, Hugh, you want to say anything else about that?
I'm stoked about it.
He really is. I told him, I was like, aren't you going to say anything about it? He's like, no, you talk about it. And I was like, but you get that twinkle in your eye. He does. He gets that twinkle in his eye because, you know, when you can give opportunities like that to our community members that may not think about doing it or ever have that opportunity, that I think that's a really, really cool thing to do. And it will support the Greensboro Housing Coalition and the work that we're doing as well. So I'll be happy to talk to any of you about that. So I probably should just stop now. But
You must be stoked too.
yeah, a little bit. My name's Salem, so please, give me a holler, and I'll be happy to talk to you about anything regarding what we do and how you can be a part of it. So thank you, guys.
I really am stoked about No Place Like Home for a variety of reasons. One, as Salem said, it does give those families and those children the opportunity that they may not have had before. And just the whole tie-in with There's No Place Like Home. That's what we're all in here talking about. And that home may be a shelter, it may be permanent supportive housing, it may be an apartment, it may be a motel room. But if you ask those children, it's going to be home. That's what it is. So, all righty, thank you so very much. Session 3 is here, and I am your moderator. Very pleased to be here. This session is where we're going to talk about, in session 1 we talked about the data and how we got here and where we are. In session 2 we talked about, we had the testimonials, we had some folks share with us their personal stories about how this housing challenge, housing crisis is impacting them. In our next session, we have 5 panelists who are going to talk about what they're doing to provide some outcomes and resolutions and solutions, which again is another reason why when Sherry let me know that Dr. Savage was here, it was a natural segue into what we're doing. It was kind of pulling the cart before the horse, but I think the cart had to leave, so I wanted to make sure we got the cart on the stage before he left. So with that, we have our 5 panelists, and I'll ask you just to start coming to the stage. They'll do their own brief intros once they get here, and may have a presentation or such. So first we have Ms. Deb Harris Richardson. She's the Executive Director of the Shirley T. Fry YWCA. We have Mr. Jason Webb. He's with Grounded Solutions. Then we have Grant Duffield, who's with the City of Greensboro at the Division of Housing and Neighborhood Development. We have Leah Henry, who's the Vice President of the Institute of Minority Economic Development, and Tracy Dusenberry Tate, who's with Halcon Properties. And what they, in a sense, represent is Deb Harris Richardson is with the YWCA, and they do a lot of work around the homeless, the unhoused, the shelter, the families, and it extends all the way down the line to where you have Tracy Dusenberry Tate, whose organization has, at least here recently, been engaged or will be engaged in some senior living. So it's kind of that, the housing for the ages, the multi-generational, that whole transition, that whole continuum. So please welcome our 5 panelists. And we'll start with this end with you, Deb.
Okay.
Fire away.
Okay. No PowerPoint.
Is that you? There you go.
So good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great day. There's been some really good information shared, and we are honored to be here today. I'm here representing the Shirley T. Fry YWCA, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our organization as a whole. The YWCA is the largest multicultural women's organization in the world. And just so that you know, we are the only YWCA in Greensboro, but we are part of an association around the United States that has 197 associations, but we are in 106 countries. But we are the only YWCA in this community, and let me tell you that we've been a part of every major convention that has happened since 1903 when we got started, whether it was women's rights, voting rights, civil rights, the rights of women, and maternal and infant care, and most recently homelessness rights. We have several different programs that we are running currently, and just want to tell you a little bit about them. And one of them is called the Teen Parent Mentor Program. We have an opportunity to serve young women who are under 19 years of age that are either pregnant or parenting, and we're able to offer them 5 different programs that can help them to get off to the best start in life for both the mom and for the baby, including setting them up with a mentor, doing childbirth classes that are specifically designed for those teens that are worthy, that are deserving of having opportunities to get off to that best start. We have camps that go on for them. We do lots of leadership. So we really are about the business of trying to help folks get to their next level of success. We have another parenting program that is called Healthy Moms, Healthy Babies. And that one is an adult parenting program that is helping to reduce infant mortality and also helping to reduce maternal mortality, which we're hearing so much about. Women of color are not getting the same level of care that others in society are. So the programs that we are running at the YWCA are all about helping people to access those resources that can help them to be better parents, more active citizens in this community. The YWCA Family Shelter is one of only 3 family shelters in all of Guilford County. So we're only talking about having about 69 beds, 69, 70 beds for families across this entire county. Not nearly enough. But what we have an opportunity to do with this emergency shelter is to welcome a family in, set them up with a family advocate that is literally going to work with them to identify what those needs are, so that we can help them to get to housing. We are a housing first focus. I have to say thank you so much to Dr. Savage that did some expanded conversation this morning about what housing first means. It doesn't just mean to take me that is experiencing homelessness and put me into a home. It means that it is going to provide me with the resources that I need to be successful as I move along, to have not just adequate care, but a variety of sources that really can help me to get to some places that my family can see the success that my family needs. I could talk all day about the YWCA, but I wanted to give you a snippet about what it is that your local YWCA covers. We really are about the business of assisting individuals and families. And the last program that I want to mention is one that is a United Way initiative. We have the honor of serving as the lead partner with the Family Success Center 2, which provides an opportunity. I'll use myself. I have a job, but I want to get a better job. I can get matched with a career-centered coach that is going to help me to attain those small or larger goals, and without a time limit. That coach is going to be with me to help me to move on. So we are serving families in this community, and we are honored to do it, and we look forward to being in partnership with all the organizations here. Okay.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
All right, Jason Webb.
How's everyone doing? I have the privilege today to talk a little bit about what's coming to Greensboro, and that is a community land trust. So my name is Jason Webb. I serve as the Community and Technical Assistance Principal at Grounded Solutions Network. We're a national membership-based organization that are the experts in community land trust. So I work throughout the country in helping to develop CLTs. So a community land trust is about lasting affordability. One of the things that I continue to not understand is why so many communities love affordable housing, and we continue to be in this crisis because we as a society do not know how to plug the leaky bucket that we continue to try to fill when it comes to affordable housing. Every day going forward, there is an affordable house that is expiring. That means that 20, 30, maybe even 5 years ago, that house got developed to being an affordable house, but there were certain restrictions put onto that property. And that property is now coming due. So that property is now being lost to the market. And that's why this motto, the Community Land Trust motto, is so important. Because it reverses in the same way that we cannot be doing things the same way and thinking that it's going to be a different result. These homes are going to be permanently affordable. And the way that we have been able to do this, and this motto has been around for the past 54 plus years now, is we separate the ownership structure. Homeowners will own the structure, and the Community Land Trust, a nonprofit organization, will own the land. A 99-year ground lease is what ties them both together. And that ground lease is going to make sure that that home doesn't just help that one family, but is going to help multiple families into the future. Now, throughout the United States, there's over 334 community land trusts. But again, why lasting affordability is because we continue to be in this crisis. And we're in this crisis in some ways because it's self-made. Homes that we thought were going to stay affordable forever, we only put maybe a 30-year deed restriction. Well, that was 30 years ago. And now with the real estate being so high, those restrictions have now expired, and those families can now just sell it for whatever the market will bear. It does not reset, it's not a reuse strategy that has been deployed. In the Community Land Trust, this motto here, we hope will start to change that going forward. Next slide. So again, there's 334 of these throughout the country. Actually, we need to color in the map a little bit more because we're in 46 states plus the District of Columbia and in Puerto Rico. And there have been thousands of units over the years built with this structure. And a lot of folks have talked about decommodifying housing, and this is one of the ways to do it. that we have to think of other wealth-building vehicles for homeowners and not just allow for this to happen. Here are some of the stats that we did, and we commissioned a 30-year statistical study on these models that talked about the foreclosure rate. And one of the things at the height of the foreclosure crisis, there were many families that were in that peril. For homeowners under a community land trust, we were able to keep 99% of those homeowners out of foreclosure. Now, 6 out of 10 of these homeowners, actually, let me first say 7 out of 10 of these homeowners actually go ahead and take the property and sell it and go into the market. So for some of these families, this is just a stepping stone. For some of these families, they would probably be renting for more than what their mortgage payment is. So why don't we give them an opportunity to actually own, build some equity, and then be able to go into the market? Again, and when we think about earned equity, one of the numbers there is 14,000. And this is, a part of the numbers where folks brought to the table about $1,100 and over 7 years was able to accumulate $14,000 in equity. I know that that's one of the myths that a lot of folks like to say about a community land trust is that you don't make any money, and that's just completely false. So one of the things I wanted to just quickly promote is on Friday, we actually have 2 more sessions that are going to be at the Public Safety Training Facility, a session at 9 and a session at 11, if you wanted to get more information on how the Greensboro Community Land Trust is going to be operating. So look forward to seeing many of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Grant Duffield.
Could I steal the clicker from you?
Yes, you may.
All right.
I wasn't clicking well enough for you.
Well, no, you did a fine job. Right. Let's see, what do we have here? There we go. Right? Yes. First, thank you. Thank every one of you for coming out today. Thank you, GHC, for putting this on. I firmly believe that we absolutely have to have these kinds of times, these kinds of spaces to be able to connect, to understand what's happening in our community, and to come out of this place and do the work, commit to action to move forward around some very, very important topics. So look, thank you for making time in your life to do this. The second thing I'll say before I get started is I'm scared. I'm terrified being on a panel up here with Jason, with Deb, with Tracy. I'm not Deb, Lee. Oh, no, I really feel that. Lee, Deb, Tracy, even you.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man, I know which one's the weakest link, but I'm going to try my best, okay? All right. What I want to share with you today is just a little discussion around what I'm going to call equitable housing. We talk about affordable housing. Today's day and time, what we really mean is equitable housing. It's housing that is fair, being able to be obtained in an affordable manner. But it's more than just affordability. It's a question of equity and community equity across the boards. When we talk about housing, and housing affordability, we've got to keep in mind that one of the biggest components, well, one of the largest components affecting the affordability of housing is the land cost itself. Certainly building costs are a substantial part of that. Land costs are anywhere from 25, 30, 35+% of the total cost of a new home or a new construction project. And that's where things like a land trust, where the land cost itself is backed out of the equation, creates the opportunity to create equitable housing within the community. In more healthy, and I'll say healthy rental markets, because the rental markets we're seeing today are just not healthy. The high-density, multifamily units, apartment units, condominium units typically offer a more affordable opportunity to get into the housing market. I'm not sure that that's entirely the case today. Everything that flows down to single-family, low-density areas that are where more of the land cost, all of the land cost, is absorbed into the cost of the home itself. There creates opportunity for a low-density and a multifamily model that has been used in the past, that's making a resurgence today, and one that we're trying to help spur and move forward. And this involves duplexes, triplexes, let's see, twin homes. I'm sorry, where's Beth? Is she still here? Yeah, twin homes, right, not duplexes, triplexes. These are different models, images that you see of these types of units, some in the community, some elsewhere. In these units are designed to mimic sort of single-family residential properties. What you're able to do by bundling more than a single home on a parcel of property, is you're able to spread that land cost across the number of units on the parcel, and thus bring the overall affordability of those units down. And I'm moving kind of quickly. Quadplexes in the past have gotten sort of a bad rap because, okay, they really start to look more like an intense multifamily, traditional kind of apartment community. There's some truth to that. There are models that are available today that look more like the single-family models. This last one that just showed is actually a quadplex that is a single-story joint unit that has 4 different families living, is very single-family sort of perception-oriented. The other piece that we'll share today involves accessory dwelling units, and some have touched on it previously. Accessory dwelling units, here are the definitions, but they are essentially small units that are able to be developed on a single-family home property by homeowners in a single-family zoned district, and thus creates additional potentially affordable units for residences. And several of the benefits that you see, it's a nominal density increase in the community. I think ADUs create what I call sort of an equitable housing pull-through. We've heard earlier that, look, maybe my graduate student son or child is going to come live in an ADU, or my elderly parent is going to come live in the ADU. That's great. It also takes those potential home consumers out of the larger market, thus freeing up those units that they might otherwise absorb. So yeah, it creates additional volume within the housing market and creates the opportunity for pull through. Accessory dwelling units themselves. These are some of the examples of what you see. They are, the traditional kind of garage apartment, or apartment over a garage, a basement, walkout unit. They can be separate, standalone residences on a single-family parcel. But all of them are created to increase the availability of housing. Now, where ADUs can really, if we can couple them with housing incentives, ADUs have really got the potential to turbocharge the housing market, to absolutely create truly equitable housing development opportunities throughout the community. Things like tying a tax relief program. If a homeowner constructs an ADU and agrees to rent that to affordable housing, we could potentially, a policy could be created whereby that homeowner receives some tax relief on the total overall tax burden for their property. We do that now with low-income homeowners that are affected by reevaluation. We could potentially offer low-interest or zero-interest development loans to homeowners that are interested in putting ADUs on their property in exchange for, again, a covenant to continue to use those long-term for affordable housing. Even direct subsidy. We work with our large-scale multifamily developers throughout the community when they're building affordable housing apartment complexes. We could make the same type of investment available to single-family homeowners that are interested in affordable housing ADUs. There are models out there where cities, communities will even partner with, like for us, it would be our friends at Greensboro Housing Authority. If those ADUs are used to support a housing choice voucher program, it's very easy then to determine compliance and establish the fact that, yes, in fact, those units are being used for the public good, to provide a public good, to create equitable housing within the community. Here are a couple pictures of, ADUs. Yep, that's them. And I need to turn it over to somebody else right
Alrighty.
now, okay?
Thank you, Grant.
Yep.
To the right, to the right.
This way, this way.
Say, don't give it back.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah. Okay, you got it.
Leah Henry, Vice President, the Institute.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for hanging in here. I'm really excited to be here, particularly as someone who has a great affinity for this community, but doesn't actually live here. So I'll tell you just a little bit about me and the organization. I have a bunch of slides that I will not go through. So the National Institute of Minority Economic Development is a North Carolina-based nonprofit that has been in existence almost 40 years. We are based in Durham. We provide services throughout a multi-state footprint that I will talk about in a moment. And I am here today in the place of our CEO, Kevin J. Price, who is a Greensboro native, so I always walk very carefully when I am in Greensboro. So we have basically three divisions. Our organization houses several women's small business centers, which are SBA-funded small business centers. Interestingly enough, they're not just for women, but they're called women's business centers. There is one here in the Triad on the campus of Bennett College. Our women's business centers provide technical assistance. They are sourced sometimes for grants or other kind of funding opportunities for small businesses. We have a CDFI, a Community Development Financial Institution, so we have a lending arm that provides capital for small businesses and also for real estate development, particularly for affordable housing rental development. That CDFI, ICAP, is actually a part of the Greensboro Housing Fund, which was created to make loans to preserve and create affordable rental housing. We now have a third division, Institute Community Development Initiative, of which I'm the vice president, which is a community development corporation that we have created to do three functions. First, we have some of our own property in several cities. Closest would be Winston-Salem, that we would like to develop for affordable and mixed income housing, both to provide housing directly, but also to provide resources for the future for our nonprofit. Because as anyone here who works in a nonprofit knows, we've got to figure out ways to diversify and keep income coming for our organizations that is not restricted, right? It helps with your sustainability, but also your independence as an organization. Secondly, we want to support community development corporations and nonprofit affordable housing developers throughout the state of North Carolina. These organizations in the past 10 years have not had a lot of support from the state level. There was a time when the state of North Carolina put millions of dollars every year into supporting operations at community development corporations across the state and in intermediaries that provided training, loans, technical assistance, an array of supports. That's been missing for about a decade, and so we are going to start that again. And then thirdly, in communities across the state where there are not nonprofits that can provide affordable housing, we wanted to be able to provide that service. And I would say roughly 2/3 of our counties don't have a nonprofit in their county or in their region that can actually produce affordable housing, and yet those local governments and those communities would like for someone to be interested in helping to provide that. So that just launched actually this summer, and so there's a lot more to come with that. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're working on here related to housing. We've got 2 projects in this area. The first is a project through the UNC Collaboratory. It was American Rescue Plan funds. And we're working on a multi-year effort being evaluated by UNC Greensboro to improve the ecosystem that supports homeownership in Guilford County. And we're doing that looking at both supply and demand. And the first thing that we have done with an advisory group that includes Grant and Hugh and a number of people in this room is to create a curriculum for small developers and people who would like to be real estate developers, who would like to be a part of the solution for providing housing, and make sure that they have the capacity to do projects, to get financing, and to be connected in the community. And so we have been doing every other week series we're halfway through right now. It'll end in November. And we have almost 30 people who signed up for the first time who said, yes, I want to know more about how I can do housing development. We'll have a second cohort in the spring, so we'll make sure that folks know about that. The second thing that we're doing is we are working not in Greensboro, but in Guilford County with the City of High Point. So many of you know that the City of High Point created a reparations commission a couple of years ago, and a number of policy recommendations came out of that process. A number of them were around housing, both helping to create affordable housing, stabilizing particular neighborhoods that have been disinvested, often on purpose, and providing opportunities for people who own houses now or own real estate now to preserve those properties and be able to pass along that generational wealth. So we're in the process of working through implementation plans with the City of High Point, and on Monday their City Council did decide that the housing policies were their top priority for implementation. So those are the basic things that we're working on in this area, and I'm happy to share my card and talk with you all about it in detail.
Thank you, Leah. Tracy?
Yes. Let's see if I can move. There we go. Hi, I'm Tracy Dusenberry with Halcon Companies and Halcon Development. I'm really honored to be here today to talk about my experience in the LIHTC space, particularly as it relates to senior housing. Halcon, just for a little bit about us, Halcon is an integrative real estate development firm, and we work with a lot of different groups. We work with nonprofit developers, for-profit developers, housing authorities, local governments, and we develop our own affordable housing in the Southeast, specializing mostly in North Carolina and Virginia. We have 25 years experience doing this in North Carolina, and we've been a partner in 24 LIHTC communities ourselves. That totals over 1,200 units. And then we've helped other developers and nonprofits develop over 55 communities across the state, totaling over 4,000 units. And in addition to the hundreds of $millions in housing tax credits that we've gotten, the thing I'm most proud of is that we've been able to get $25 million in soft financing to help develop those communities, because that's really important. It's below market financing such as CDBG, home, housing trust funds, Federal Home Loan Bank money. And this is just a slide showing some of the examples of senior housing that we have built close by. One is the villas at Forest Park in Kannapolis, that's 64 units. The villas at Hope Crest in Salisbury, 55 units. Garden Walk Villas in Henderson, 48 units. And the villas at Union Trace in Gastonia, 60 units. One that I want to highlight is Arbors Park Senior Living in Ada, North Carolina. That is it's in Pitt County, just outside of Greenville. We developed a cottage style apartment community that was 64 units. It is like quadruplexes, but the residents love it because they all have their own little patios, and it filled up really quickly, and the local government loved it and wants us to come back. There's also a community building where there's a computer center and a space for the residents to meet and have functions, as well as outdoor areas such as a covered picnic area. So other green space on the site as well. This one is the Villas at Hickory Tree in Winston-Salem. It's actually in Davidson County, but it's still considered Winston-Salem, so it's right there on the line. Winston-Salem was in charge of the planning process and everything, but this is 56 units, and this one's a 3-story style senior independent living building. And in here, there's a lot of space inside for the residents to interact. There's a TV and craft room, community space with a little kitchenette where they can have events or have their family there, computer center. They also have garden plots on this one so that they can garden. And there's a library, craft room, a gazebo, so a lot of amenities. The next one, this one is coming here in Greensboro, and it says coming in 2025, but that may be a little too optimistic right now, but it may be the beginning of 2026. But we are working on the Villas at Elmsley Crossing. This is a 52-unit independent senior living community. We just recently held a grand opening in July for the Lofts at Elmsley Crossing, which is an 84-unit workforce housing development, and that one filled up really quickly, and we already have a waiting list. So we know that this one is going to do well because people have already been asking about it, but we'll be starting construction soon. This one will be 3 stories with an elevator and a lot of that community space inside the building as well. And when we build these, they target between 30% of the area median income level, and this one's 60% of the area median income level. Some of them can go up to 80% of the area median income level. This one is just an example. I really wanted to show you a financing example just to show you like how it works, how it's put together for those of you who may not know already. This one's one we're working on in Garner, which is right outside of Raleigh in Wake County. It's a 64-unit senior community. This one's 4 stories with 2 elevators, 32 one-bedroom, 32 two-bedroom. And again, it has 30% AMI through 60% AMI. As you can see, it's going to cost a total of $15,689,378. And we will have a conventional bank loan. We'll have an RPP loan from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, also a workforce housing loan from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. But we will have Wake County funds of $2,310,000. There's also an equity from our LIHTC investor, who that's to be determined at this point. We work with a lot of different people, such as RBC, KHEC, and other banks that are involved in purchasing those tax credits. And the reason I really wanted to show you this is because without that Wake County money, this would not be possible. And that's $2,310,000. You can see they're leveraging a lot of other money to do these 64 units, but it's really critical that we get money from the local governments right now, especially with the way the economic environment is right now. And I was asked to talk about barriers and solutions, and I know we'll get more into that when we go on to the panel discussion. But I just wanted to hit on a few. The economic environment really is critical right now for what we're doing because the labor and material costs are so high. The construction industry just keeps fluctuating. We don't know what's going to be out and we're going to have to wait for next. We had buildings done and we were waiting for the electrical panel boxes for like 4 months, just sitting there waiting for those. So that's been tough. And, you know, when inflation hits, it also affects the interest rates on our construction loans and permanent loans, and that really, really hurts us when we're trying to build affordable housing. So that's another reason we need more money from the local government. So funding is critical. And land, and that's one thing they were talking about is land. I mean, it's really hard for us to compete with all of these commercial investors that are coming in and trying to just, you know, buy up the land. I get texts and letters every day saying, can I buy your land? Can I buy your land? I'm sure you all get that too. And I mean, it's just really hard to compete when that's what we're dealing with. So those are just a few of them, and we'll discuss more when we get onto the panel discussion, and I'll be happy to answer any questions then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. So you each talked about this question in a sense from your own perspective. So the response that I'm looking for would be from your own perspective. What obstacles do you foresee or do you project that would get in the way of you being successful in the areas that you were stressing? And for instance, I'll go to you, Jason, for the CLT.
Yeah, I would say the biggest barrier that I've seen just throughout the country is an old mentality around land ownership. Our country was built on speculation, and I think we need to, acknowledge that and really try to find a different path. And the idea that a lot of folks would say is, oh, but I don't own the land. And one of the things one community land trust owner would say to them is, but do you ever really own land? I did some work with an indigenous community, and their tribal chief really loved the CLT model because it was the closest to what he was taught, that, it's almost like owning the sky. How do you own the sky? How do you own water? How do you own land? And I think we as a society may need to get back to that. So I would say that that's one of the biggest barriers around this type of model, is some folks just not willing to accept that you can own a home and not own the land.
Do you also think that the term, the unworthies, if you're living in a CLT, then you're, all the otherisms, would that play into the community?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of folks and a lot of the funding does come from federal government, and the federal government still believes that this is an untrue model because they don't believe that folks of those lower means should be worthy of home ownership, that they should just stay in rental. And that's not the philosophy that most community land trusts have. I have some CLTs that work with homeowners at 30% of the AMI and are able to get them into home ownership and support them in that home ownership journey. So yeah, I would say that that's also a definite barrier, is that perception of those folks, of those people, they don't deserve this.
So it's not really money, it's more of a mindset.
Exactly.
Leah, how about you, looking at it from your perspective?
The biggest barrier to success, I think, is a scarcity mindset. So what I find is that it's just a knee-jerk reaction. There's not enough money, there's not enough money, there's not enough money. There's so much money.
Yes.
It depends on who has it and how they want to use it. And a lot of times there's not a lot of creativity. And so what I see, because I work in different communities, is that folks know what they know, and they don't know what they don't know. And what I mean by that is that there are so many different ways we could involve those who have capital in investing in the housing solutions, but those of us who are advocates need to know about it, and we need to be able to connect with the people who have the capital. And I just think that just not understanding that we have enough. Like people say, it's a cliche that we're the richest country in the world. There's so much money here. There's literally people who can't figure out what to do with their money. And yet we have a housing crisis. And so there's got to be a way to make that connection.
Absolutely.
Hugh, I'm going to...
Grant,
Thank
jump
you, sir.
in.
Thank you.
I was
Yes.
coming to you next anyway.
All right, great. No, and I'm going to dovetail on what both Lee and Jason have said. When I talk to folks that are kind of my peers, often I'll ask, what do you like about Greensboro? And every single time I hear the same things, okay? I hear, wow, the cost of living's great, relatively, right? It's safe. The schools are good. The health care is really very good. It's a great place to be. And I say, okay, well, take a step back and realize that all of that, all of the things that we value so much about our community are underpinned with affordable and equitable housing. Okay? And there's not the connection that the quality of life that everyone in our community enjoys, quality health care, quality education, public safety, is absolutely critically supported through affordable housing. So if we want to maintain that, if we want to continue that quality of life, we all have got to be willing to invest, our financial resources. We have to recognize that affordable housing is the resource that enables Greensboro to be a really quality place to live. So yeah, I think that's getting that message out, that mindset out is absolutely critical.
And I tend to agree, but all politics is local. When you're living in it, it doesn't feel like it. The median sale price for a home in Greensboro is about $280. In Charlotte, it's about $411.
Yeah.
In Raleigh, it's about $431.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
I'll come to you, Deb, and then because you already gave some of your solutions, I'll come to you for this question, then we'll go to the audience.
Okay. Some of the things that we need to think about are those that are really struggling are not even necessarily thinking about home ownership at this point. Those that I am serving currently, because they are stuck in that place, they're stuck in that amygdala, in that fight or flight place, that they are literally trying to figure out what's going on at this particular moment without the ability to look ahead. So it is about an education piece, but it's also about it's also about people having hope and realizing that as they do have an opportunity to look ahead, to make some plans for potentially home ownership, to find out what kind of programs might be available to them that can help them to get started. We are starting to hear from from some candidates that there are going to be some services potentially available. But we've got a long way to go. We've got a really long way to go.
Thank you, Deb. So with that, if you're good with that, okay, beautiful. Let's go to the audience, see if you have any questions from the audience. We have folks with microphones for any of our panelists here. I know the night or day is going long. We're getting close to 2 o'clock. Does anyone have any questions? I don't think I see any hands. Do I see any hands? I don't see any hands.
We solved it. We solved it.
We solved it all. We are ready to go. So let's get ready to close this thing out. Let's give our panelists a hand. And, we talked about some outcomes and solutions and the like, but, in reality, if there were a real easy solution to this, we would probably have it already. I think the solution is going to come from what we talked about earlier, coming together. What we talked about, getting more creative and innovative with our funding. Sometimes the issue is funding, and I think Dr. Savage has opened up some eyes to that, and probably his email is full by now, that we have some work ahead of us. And I know that we have the right people in session 1, session 2, session 3, and also with you all sitting here in the audience. So I want to say thank you so very much for being here. I want to thank my fellow moderators, Tiara and Paula, the housing subcommittee team who's here. They raised their hands. I'm just going to run through them. The GHC staff who did such a great job of helping to prepare for you all today. Our board of directors, our very generous sponsors. I won't go through them again, but our very generous sponsors. They've been on the scroll. If they could be on the scroll again, that'd be great, if that's possible. The sponsors, the very beginning video, that'd be great. The Coliseum staff have done a great job of setting up Give them a hand. And last but not least, you, for being here, taking your time, coming in early, the 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We're going to keep you at 2 o'clock, a little bit earlier than that. But we're continuing the conversation. Please be on the lookout for a survey in the next several weeks to let us know what you think about our 2024 Housing Summit, Housing for the Ages, and everything else that comes with it. And unless there's something else, I think we're going to say thanks so very much for being here. We really appreciate you. And don't forget, there's no place like home. Thank you.